the majesty and shadows of the queen. Hera is known as the queen of the gods in Greek mythology, wife of Zeus, and the goddess of marriage, fidelity, and family. She rose to become the most powerful of the Olympian gods. As the highest-ranking queen, Hera embodied not only loyalty, but also served as the protector of women and the enforcer of moral values in marriage. Behind the crown of her divine rule lies a complicated tale of power, jealousy, and internal conflict. This story delves into the depths of a goddess often misunderstood. We will explore Hera's influence over the divine order of Olympus, her turbulent relationship with Zeus, and how her presence shaped both the world of gods and mortals. From her birth under the care of the Titans, to her unshakable defense of sacred vows, Hera stands as a complex figure, wounded and unyielding. Hera was born to the Titans Cronus and Rhea, alongside her siblings Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, after being freed from Cronus's stomach by Zeus. However, her life, as Zeus's wife, was far from peaceful. Zeus was infamous for his many affairs with mortals and other divine beings. Hera's reaction was often swift and fierce. She rarely punished Zeus directly, but instead directed her fury toward the women involved and their offspring. This anger, though often portrayed as cruel, stemmed from her deep sense of duty and the sacredness she attached to the bonds of marriage. Hera played significant roles in many major myths. She was not a passive queen on Olympus, but an active force who influenced wars, punished betrayal, and defended tradition. Her presence in the Trojan War, her trials of demigods like Hera, and her calculated interventions in divine matters show her as a strategic and commanding figure in myth. In the coming chapters, we will uncover the divine and human aspects of Hera, her struggles, intelligence, pain, and power. Through these stories, we will meet the Queen of Olympus, not as a shadow of Zeus, but as a goddess who ruled with her own voice, her own values, and a legacy that endures across time. The birth and rise of Hera. Born from the primordial union of the Titans Cronus and Rhea, Hera's origins are rooted in a time when the cosmos itself was still forming. She was one of 6 children: Hestia, Demeter, Hades, Poseidon, Zeus, and herself. As Cronus feared that his offspring would one day overthrow him, he swallowed each child at birth. Hera spent her earliest existence trapped within her father's body, an unnatural prison of darkness and stillness. When Zeus, the youngest, was hidden by Rhea and raised in secret, the balance of fate began to shift. Eventually, Zeus returned, forced Cronus to disgorge his siblings, and led a 10-year war against the Titans, known as the reality of their relationship was deeply troubled. Zeus's constant infidelities caused Hera immense pain. Despite this, she remained fiercely loyal to the sanctity of marriage, which she governed and protected with unrelenting devotion. Hera, now free, emerged into a world that had changed dramatically. The gods took their place atop Mount Olympus, and Hera was soon elevated as queen, standing beside Zeus, not merely as his wife, but as his divine equal in status. Her union with Zeus was complex, though myths speak of their wedding as a grand and sacred event, marked by golden clouds and divine music. Hera's rise to power was not through conquest, but through presence and influence. She became the patroness of lawful marriage, childbirth, and the roles of women in Greek society. Her temples, such as the Hieron of Samos and the sanctuary at Argos, were among the grandest in the ancient world, signifying her far-reaching authority. In contrast to her brothers, who ruled over domains like the sea or the underworld, Hera's domain was human in essence. She watched over households, mothers, and queens. She was the divine embodiment of structure and duty, and her marriage defined by betrayal. Hera grew into a figure of strength. Her story is not one of submission, but of transformation, of a goddess who took pain and turned it into purpose, becoming the eternal guardian of vows and order in both the heavens and on earth, often clashing with the chaos represented by Zeus's unfaithful behavior. Though her early life was shaped by trauma, Hera and Zeus, a divine yet broken Maria, and Zeus, a divine yet broken marriage. Hera and Zeus ruled Olympus together, yet their marriage was marked by ongoing turmoil. Though they were king and queen of the gods, theirs was not a tale of divine harmony. Instead, it was a relationship defined by betrayal, control, and retaliation. From the moment of his birth, Hera sought to destroy him. She delayed his delivery to allow another child to be born first and claim his destiny. Later, she sent 2 serpents to kill him in his crib, and orchestrated the madness that led him to kill his own family. Yet ironically, Heracles would eventually ascend to Olympus and marry Hebe, Hera's daughter. Zeus, driven by desire, pursued countless affairs with goddesses, nymphs, and mortal women. Hera, as the goddess of marriage, responded not by challenging Zeus directly, but by punishing those who became entangled in his infidelity. One of the most famous examples is the story of Leto, a Titaness who became pregnant with Zeus's twins, Apollo and Artemis. Hera forbade every land and island from offering Leto a place to give birth. Eventually, the floating island of Delos, untouched by the curse, became the twins' birthplace. Hera's vengeance was not aimed at the children but at their mother, a pattern that repeated in many myths. Hera's wrath fell hardest on Heracles, Zeus's son, with the mortal woman Alp. Despite her vindictive actions, Hera was not without reason. Her responses reflected a deeper emotional truth. She had been betrayed, not once but continuously, and had no real power to stop it. It mirrors the tensions and contradictions found in human unions: love and betrayal, power and vulnerability, loyalty and resentment. Hera, as both goddess and wife, personifies the enduring struggle between duty and desire, justice and forgiveness. Hera was not a passive victim, nor a cruel tyrant. She was a queen navigating a broken partnership while holding fast to her principles. Her divine role forced her to uphold the very sanctity of marriage that her own husband defiled. Her actions, though harsh, were consistent with her nature as the enforcer of divine law and order. Hera's marriage to Zeus reveals the complexity of divine relationships in Greek mythology. Her story teaches that even the gods are not immune to emotional pain. Hera's role in the Trojan War. Hera's influence was not limited to Olympus. She took active part in shaping the mortal world. Most notably, during the Trojan War, Hera promised political power and dominion over great kingdoms. Athena offered wisdom and victory in battle. Aphrodite offered the love of the most beautiful woman in the world, Helen of Sparta. Paris chose Aphrodite's gift, and from that moment, Hera became one of Troy's most determined enemies. Her involvement began not on the battlefield, but at a wedding, the fateful union of Peleus and Thetis. All gods were invited except Eris, the goddess of discord. In retaliation, Eris threw a golden apple among the guests, inscribed with the words "to the fairest." The dispute that followed between Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite became the root of a war that would devastate an entire civilization. Zeus, unwilling to choose between the 3 goddesses, passed the decision to Paris, a prince of Troy. Each goddess offered him a reward. Throughout the war, Hera used her divine powers to aid the Greeks. She intervened directly, distracting Zeus, rallying the gods, and working with Athena to sabotage Trojan heroes. Hera's hatred for Troy was not just emotional, it was political. Paris's rejection had insulted her authority, and the fall of Troy became a personal mission to restore her honor. She manipulated the tides of war, not with brute force, but with cunning strategy. At one point, she seduced Zeus on Mount Ida to distract him, allowing Poseidon to aid the Greeks. She was not content to let mortals decide the fate of the gods. Her authority had been challenged, and she responded with careful, decisive action. She did not forget an insult, nor did she forgive. Her intervention delayed Troy's success and allowed the Greeks to regain strength. Even in the realm of gods, her intellect proved more powerful than sheer force. Hera's role in the Trojan War illustrates her deep sense of pride and vengeance. But beyond the anger, Hera's actions highlight a larger truth about the gods of Olympus. They were mirrors of human nature, emotional, proud, and often flawed. Hera, as queen, led with both heart and mind. Her role in the Trojan War was not only a display of wrath, but also a demonstration of divine control over mortal destiny. Punishments and rivalries, Hera's wrath unleashed. As goddess of marriage and queen of Olympus, Hera fiercely defended her values, but when crossed, her punishments were devastating. Her wrath was rarely random. It was reserved for those who violated the sanctity of her domain or humiliated her position as Zeus's wife. Hera sowed doubt in Semele's mind and tricked her into demanding that Zeus reveal his true form. When he did, Semele was instantly incinerated by his divine radiance. The child Dionysus survived only because Zeus rescued him and sewed him into his thigh until birth. Hera's indirect methods revealed a dangerous intellect. She didn't need brute strength to destroy a rival. What made Hera's fury so feared was its precision. She punished, not just physically, but through long-term suffering that echoed through generations. One of the most tragic victims was Io, a mortal priestess of Hera, who caught Zeus's eye. To hide his affair, Zeus transformed Io into a white cow. Hera, seeing through the deception, demanded the cow as a gift, and said Argus, Panop's 100-eyed giant, to guard her. After Argus was slain by Hermes on Zeus's orders, Hera sent a gadfly to torment Io endlessly, driving her across continents. Io's suffering became legendary, her footsteps etched into ancient geography. Another infamous case was Semele, a mortal woman pregnant with Zeus's child, disguised as an old woman. Lamia, another lover of Zeus, was cursed by Hera to lose her own children and transformed into a monstrous being who devoured others' infants. Hera's motivations were grounded in structure and justice. She upheld a cosmic order where marriage was sacred and betrayal had consequences. In the patriarchal world of the gods, Hera carved out control not by overthrowing Zeus, but by asserting power in the spaces he ignored through punishment, legacy, and fear. Similarly, Echo, a mountain nymph who distracted Hera while Zeus had affairs, was punished by having her voice reduced to mere repetition. Each punishment served a symbolic purpose, upholding Hera's authority and deterring others from defying her. Though her vengeance was often cruel, her rivalries were not just personal, but theological statements about loyalty and respect. In punishing those involved in Zeus's betrayals, Hera reinforced her divine domain. She was not simply vengeful, she was a judge, delivering punishment to those who defiled sacred bonds. Hera's children and sacred symbols. Though Hera's marriage to Zeus was marred by betrayal, their union produced several powerful and symbolic children. Each reflected a unique aspect of Hera's identity, ranging from warfare to youth and even vengeance. Their birth stories, abilities, and roles among the gods helped shape her legacy as not just a queen, but a divine mother, and her presence on Olympus ensured the gods remained forever young. Hebe later married Heracles, the very demigod Hera once tried to destroy, marking an unusual act of reconciliation. This union reflected Hera's complex character, capable of evolution even after deep resentment. The peacock, with its iridescent eyes on its feathers, was her most recognized emblem. Through them, her power extended across Olympus and into the hearts of mortals, shaping the divine order in every aspect of life and death. Said to have been created from the eyes of Argus, the cow, representing maternal care and fertility, was another symbol of her nurturing side. Her scepter, crown, and throne all reinforced her authority. Foremost among her children was Ares, the god of war. She was honored in many regions of ancient Greece for her vital role in human life. Eileithyia extended Hera's divine influence over the domain of family and the preservation of lineage. Fierce and relentless, Ares embodied the brutal chaos of battle. Unlike Athena, who represented strategic warfare, Ares personified violence and bloodshed. Hera's pride in Ares was matched by her frustration with his reckless behavior, yet he remained a testament to her strength and passion. In some versions of the myth, Hera bore him alone without Zeus, out of spite after Zeus gave birth to Athena without her. When Hephaestus was born deformed, Hera was ashamed and cast him from Olympus. He later returned, vengeful yet brilliant, forging divine weapons and thrones for the gods. Despite their strained relationship, Hephaestus's creativity and intellect became part of Hera's legacy. His very nature echoed the intensity of Hera's emotions, unforgiving and direct. Another child was Hebe, goddess of youth and cupbearer of the gods. She symbolized vitality and renewal. Hera also gave birth to Eileithyia, the goddess of childbirth, who assisted women in labor. One of the most controversial stories surrounds Hephaestus, the god of blacksmiths and fire. Beyond her children, Hera was associated with sacred animals and symbols. Together, Hera's children and symbols represent her paradox: nurturing yet punishing, loyal yet vengeful. Temples, worship, and the cult of Hera. In ancient Greece, Hera was more than a mythological figure. She was a living presence in daily life, honored through rituals, festivals, and grand architecture. Her worship was widespread and deeply rooted, especially in regions like Argos, Samos, and Olympia. Each city had its own version of devotion, but all acknowledged her as the ultimate divine matron, protector of marriage, women, and family. One of the oldest and most important sanctuaries dedicated to Hera was the Heraion of Samos. This temple, dating back to the 8th century BCE, offering a commanding view of the region. Here, she was venerated with annual festivals known as the Hera, which included processions, athletic contests, and sacrifices. These celebrations reflected Hera's dual role as the enforcer of divine law and the guardian of human morality. Once housed an enormous cult statue of the goddess and attracted pilgrims from across the Greek world. The temple's layout and design influenced classical architecture for centuries, showcasing Hera's central role in religious life. In Argos, another major cult center, Hera was worshipped as the city's principal deity. The Heraion of Argos stood on a hilltop. The Olympic Games, held in honor of Zeus, also included events dedicated to Hera. The Heraion Games were exclusively for women, a rare occurrence in a male-dominated society, seeking her blessing for harmony and longevity. In some traditions, brides would sacrifice a lock of hair to Hera before their wedding, marking a rite of passage from maidenhood to matrimony. Young girls competed in. She was both feared and loved, revered for her ability to protect and punish. Unlike many gods whose domains were limited, Hera's worship permeated every stage of life, from birth to marriage and even to death, symbolizing both athletic excellence and the goddess's approval of physical strength, paired with feminine virtue. These events demonstrated that Hera's influence extended beyond temples and into the cultural fabric of ancient Greece. Worship of Hera often involved the offering of peacock feathers, or floral garlands, symbols of fertility and regality. Marriage rituals regularly invoked her name. Hera's cult was not built on fear alone, but on respect and recognition of her essential role in maintaining order and balance. Through her temples and rites, Hera remained present in the hearts of her people. She was not just a figure of myth, but a powerful force in the real, spiritual world of the ancient Greeks. Hera's legacy in mythology and culture. Hera's image has endured for thousands of years, evolving across generations of storytellers, philosophers, and artists. Homer's Iliad and Odyssey depict her as a manipulative force during the Trojan War, working alongside Athena to undermine Zeus's plans. While these narratives highlight her anger, they also reveal her cunning mind and political influence. She operated within a divine system where she had little control over her husband's actions, yet she still found ways to assert her power. As myths were passed down through oral tradition and written texts, they did not just present her as a jealous wife, but as a deity navigating betrayal and loneliness. These depictions allowed audiences to see Hera not only as a goddess of punishment, but as a symbol of endurance and dignity under pressure. Hera's character became one of the most defined and complex among the Olympian gods. Unlike deities who faded into obscurity, Hera remained a prominent figure, respected and interpreted in diverse ways. In classical literature, Hera is often portrayed as vengeful and jealous. Tragedians like Euripides and dramatists of later periods expanded on Hera's emotional depth. In Roman mythology, Hera was adapted into the figure of Juno, while many traits remained the same. Juno's role emphasized her authority within the Roman state and her protection of the empire's social order. Her festival, the match, celebrated women's roles as mothers and wives, reinforcing the values Hera had long represented in Greek tradition. She is sometimes reimagined as a feminist figure, a goddess who refused to be sidelined, who defended her place in a world dominated by powerful men. Other interpretations still focus on her vindictive side, reflecting the ancient myths that first shaped her story. Artists throughout the Renaissance and beyond continued to portray Hera in painting and sculpture, often with a peacock by her side and a regal expression. She was typically adorned with a crown, representing her status as divine queen. These artistic renderings emphasized her grace and majesty, but also carried the weight of her tragic mythology, beauty, intertwined with bitterness. In modern culture, Hera appears in literature, film, and even video games. Regardless of the portrayal, Hera's legacy is clear. She was never a background character. She was a ruler, a judge, a mother, and a force of divine balance. Her myths invite us to explore themes of justice, loyalty, and the cost of power in both divine and human realms.
Hera's enduring power. Final reflections.
Hera's story is not one of simplicity, but of complexity layered across centuries of myth and meaning. She stands as a paradox, both nurturing and ruthless, both victim and ruler. She responded with strategies of her own, weaving plans, issuing punishments, and preserving her dominion over marriage and family. Her choices may seem harsh to modern eyes, but within the logic of myth, they served a greater purpose. Hera did not punish out of blind rage. She punished to preserve sacred law, to guard the institution she was born to protect. As queen of the gods, she never stepped aside or allowed herself to be overshadowed. Through her children, her sacred animals, her temples, and her festivals, Hera reached into the daily lives of the ancient Greeks. She was a presence in every marriage ceremony, a protector in childbirth, and a symbol in every oath taken between husband and wife. Unlike many gods who governed nature or war, Hera governed relationships, the fragile fabric of society itself. Her legacy remains as the divine embodiment of dignity, order, and feminine strength in a chaotic world ruled by unpredictable forces. Through every betrayal by Zeus, Hera held her ground. Her influence extended far beyond Olympus. In today's world, Hera continues to fascinate because she is more than a myth. She is a reflection of the human experience. Her story is filled with contradictions, love and anger, devotion and vengeance, wisdom and pride. These qualities make her relatable, even across time. She was his counterpart, equal in power, unmatched in resilience. Her trials revealed her strength, and her responses shaped the destiny of gods and mortals alike. She represents the struggle to maintain authority and respect in a world that often overlooks the sacredness of commitment, and in every figure who refuses to be silenced. Hera, Queen of Olympus, remains eternal not just in marble or myth, but in the symbols and values that continue to define humanity's search for balance and truth. Hera's endurance in mythology proves that her role cannot be dismissed. She was not a mere consort to Zeus. As we close this narrative, we do not leave Hera behind. Her presence lingers in every tale of loyalty tested, in every institution that upholds justice.